Hello once again, and today I'm going to be talking about who remembers the playground wars back at school. Commodore 64 kids versus the ZX Spectrum kids. I do remember this. This was times that I didn't have a computer. I think it was around about 1984 time when I was at primary school. Because I know ZX Spectrum came out in 1982. Commodore 64 came out in 1982 after the Spectrum, but it didn't arrive to the UK until 1983. But 1984 time, both computers are well established at this point. So usually the snobbier kids had the Commodore 64, obviously because it was a premium computer. It cost about what, 300 quid at that time. You know, 300 quid nowadays might not seem a lot of money, but for 1984 standards that was a hell of a lot of money, considering average wage was about 50 to 75 quid a week. Yeah, and the Spectrum was obviously the budget computer. That cost about, I don't know, 150 quid, did it, give or take a few quid? I think it wasn't no way as much as it was half the price, and you can see why. But Spectrum, this is why I think the Spectrum in the UK was very popular, because it was a cheap computer, and a lot of people went from the ZX81 to the ZX Spectrum, because a lot of people did have the ZX81 because it was cheap. You know, if you want to learn computing, this is the best way to go. Get something this cheap. And Sinclair, you know, unfortunately got taken over by Amstrad in the end, but there you go. I owned an Amstrad CPC 464 at about 1985 time, but this is not what this video is about. It's about playground wars, and I remember it. Obviously, at this point I've heard of the Commodore 64 and Spectrum, but at this point I don't think I've ever yes, I did. My mate had a Spectrum, but I think it was about the same time as 84 time. It was the same year that when I was known about the playground, when I started hearing about these playground wars. I think it was just after he got a Spectrum. Yeah, I remember it. It was quite decent, you know, what you could do. But it was one of the first computers I ever played on, that and the Commodore VIC-20. So, you know, for the time, you think, wow, they're pretty good, especially when I didn't have a computer then. I think, oh God, I've got. I wonder if my mum and dad will buy me one time. Oh, I'm missing out on all this. And like, as I said, 85, they bought me the Amstrad CPC 464. No one knew about them at that time. I didn't know anything about it. This is a new computer. I know it came out in 84, but didn't know nothing about it. No one's ever spoke about it. I don't know. It was a brand spanking new computer. That's something I've never heard of, was the Amstrad CPC 464. And I was quite excited when I bought it. Well, I didn't buy it, my parents bought it. You know, I was really excited when it came, you know, wow. Had a monitor, didn't have to worry about stealing the telly, you know. It's got a monitor, nice colour monitor, the nice computer, wow. And it came with games, whoa. Anyway, I'm not talking about that. Should be talking about that. Anyway, I'm just getting, you know, I finally got into the computer revolution. But, you know, the war was the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64 at each other's throat. What is the best game? A certain game come out. Oh yeah, but it's on the Commodore 64. Snobby kids usually are. The Commodore 64 kids were the snobby ones, you know, because obviously it's more money, and obviously their parents had better jobs or something like that. But you know, that's why I thought, yeah, Commodore 64. I'm not saying everyone's a fucking snob that owned a Commodore 64, because eventually I owned a Commodore 64, which I bought with my own money though. But that's another thing. That's when I left school, got my first ever job. Yeah, I actually bought a Commodore 64 when I started having problems with the Amstrad CPC 464. I thought, well, I've had two of them now. You know, usually the monitor goes, but I don't know. I did used that computer quite a lot, so I think it was only known it was going to break. But anyway, yeah, eventually I did buy a Commodore 64, and I wasn't a snob. Never have been a snob, but usually back at school you can tell the Commodore 64. Yeah, I own a Commodore 64. What's your Spectrum? Yeah, we got good games on our Spectrum. They used to tear each other's fucking hair out. Oh my god, it used to get quite violent at times. Talking about what was the better computer game on their systems. Oh wow. Hair raising stuff, hair pulling stuff. And there's always the girls that, nah, we're not involved. you know, it's always usually the, you had your kids, your cool kids that like, that didn't give a shit about computers and things like that. And you had the, the kids that like the computers, got a computer for Christmas or birthday, whatever, or just wanted a computer. But, it's usually there was more Spectrum, just slightly more Spectrum kids than Commodore 64 kids, because it's a cheaper computer. It's like, oh yeah, but this the Commodore kids, yeah, but it's got 64K. This has got hardware sprites. What the fuck are they? They're probably, if we're saying all these specs, and they probably haven't got a fucking clue what they actually are. Kids, I didn't know anything technically about the Amstrad CPC. I didn't know anything about it. All I knew, it's got 64K. That's all I knew, which is memory size. Yeah, I think we all knew that, but technical specs, I don't think no one knows. It's got all these colours, it's got hardware sprites, it's got the SID chip. Yeah, it means it's got better sounds than your bleeper Spectrum. yeah, I just fucking all the games that come out. Oh my god, they're tearing each other's throats out. Oh yeah, but this has got high resolution graphics. What's the Commodore? Commodore 64's got more blockier graphics. Oh yeah, but we got superior sound. We got hardware sprites. Oh yeah, well, fucking hell. Gee. I just remember them. I remember some of the times. Oh god, it was pathetic. It really was pathetic. Yeah, that's why I don't care about fanboy. I've never been a fanboy on anything, why, this is when I review games, I do give each system a fair chance, I will say what I prefer, me owning an Amstrad CPC 464 didn't always get the best games. There was some that were brilliant, but unfortunately we got the Spectrum fucking conversions. We got the fucking rushed crap like Outrun. But I will say Afterburner was a better version on the Amstrad CPC than it was on the Commodore 64. But I'm not trying to start a war here. Fact. Oh yeah, and there was Chase HQ as well. But then again, there was some great games on the Commodore 64 because my mate eventually, his dad bought him one, and I was round his house playing on his Commodore 64. I even know it was a great computer. Yeah, then obviously my mate first Spectrum and Commodore. He was the one that had the VIC-20 in the first place, and then his dad decided to upgrade him to a Commodore 64. He weren't a snob or nothing. I'm not saying all people that had Commodore 64s are snobs, but majority of them at school were, oh yeah, but it was alright. Their parents were loaded, or really stuck up. Some of them. I fucking hate people like that. I hate stuck up bastards, really do. Yeah, but I remember them just fighting. What one's the better version? Yeah. But do we have that anymore? Do kids? Is it like the PlayStation versus the Xbox? Do kids do that nowadays? Have playground wars over the? It's probably who's got the better phone. Is it iPhone versus the Samsung Galaxy or the Sony or whatever? It's probably playground wars with mobile phones nowadays. Oh yeah, but my mobile phone does this. Oh, my iPhone boots up quicker. Oh, this does this. Oh, look at the resolution of my camera. Who gives a flying fuck at the end of the day? Jesus Christ, what is wrong with people? Who gives a flying fuck? Probably Amiga versus Atari ST. That would have been another Playground Wars thing. Well, that my ST's got MIDI inputs and outputs. Yeah, but the Amiga's got this. You know, I don't know. I never owned an Amiga back in the 80s. I bought one. I bought an Amiga for my own money anyway. So, but I was late to the party as usual because I had Amiga 500 and the Amiga 1200. But I bought it with my own money when I went to work. So yeah, that's nothing to do with Playground Wars, is it? Yeah. So I'm sure there was an Atari ST versus Commodore Amiga Playground Wars. Because by this point, no one owned a PC because they was way too expensive. You had to be mega rich to own a PC. Because that was in the like £2,000. These were business computers. It cost about £2,000, probably more than that. You know, no one I knew at school had a PC. You know, these were computers we found that was at school, and that was pretty rare because we didn't even have the proper PC. It was the Nimbus. Was it the the Research Machine Nimbus? Yeah, that was. I think they were the only PCs that I saw at school, but they were sort of like a cheap. I don't know if they were proper PCs or not, but yeah. Yeah, so really the mega rich owned PCs, but that was pretty rare. Usually the well-off ones had either Amiga or ST, you know. I think they cost around about the same price. But yeah, Playground Wars with the ST and Amiga. I'm guessing there was the PlayStation versus the PlayStation. What was the PlayStation up against? The Sega Saturn and the Sega Mega Drive. Not the Sega Mega Drive. The Sega Dreamcast, wasn't it? It was PlayStation versus the Dreamcast. Probably the Sega Mega Drive versus the Super Nintendo. The Master System versus the NES. Mind you, NESs weren't that popular at school. I didn't know any. So that wasn't really. Yeah, you know, because no one owned a NES. I don't think. I don't know. People probably did, but the main one was the Spectrum versus the Commodore 64. That was the one. That was the ultimate fight back at school. Was the Commodore 64 versus the Spectrum. Probably was with Amiga versus ST. I think there was, but it wasn't as popular. Perhaps, you know, than others. I don't know. Perhaps it was. I left school in 1990, so I didn't really know about other Playground Wars. I mean, could have been at the ST and Amiga. I think there was, but you can't odds the Commodore 64 and the Spectrum. That was the fight. That was the ultimate fight of the two computers and the fanboys, you know, the owners or whatever. That was the ultimate fight. No, I remember that. But as I said, do kids these days still have Playground Wars over the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One? Is it now? You know, or previous generations? Is that fight is those Playground Wars still there? I don't know. I left school 30 years ago, so I don't know. But tell me if there is. If you know, if your parents yourself and your kids talk about Playground Wars still. Be interesting to know that, because you know, does it still go on? I mean, is it more of mobile phones these days? Who's got the better mobile phone? I don't know. What else can it be these days? There's other game consoles, computers. Well, it's only P or PC. Oh, I've got the better. Who's got the better specs of PC these days? I don't know. Was it Apple Macintosh versus the PC? I don't know. Be interesting to find out. But all I remember was mainly the ZX Spectrum versus the Commodore 64. God blimey. Yeah. But yeah, tell me. Anyway, I'm going to end this now. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, and goodbye.